Hello, everyone, and welcome to Out of Nowhere. Well, my guest today is Russell Hasbill. Sages, I think it's about 2 years since you were last on the show. Time goes very quickly, I know it does. Russell has been a paranormal investigator since 2003 and has appeared on various radio shows as the subject expert since that time, having witnessed his first UFO experience in 1975 and later witnesses the Phoenix Lights in 1997. His interest in UFOs grew over the years. Russell joins the Mutual UFO Network in 2012 and became a UFO field investigator in 2013. And in 2015, Russell was awarded the Arizona MUFON Field Investigator of the Year. Can we please welcome Russell to the show? Hello there.
Yeah, hi Bob. It's great to be back. I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, thank you. How did it all start for you then?
Uh, yeah, it's. I think it's been a year or so since I've been on. I've been staying busy. A lot of UFO activities, paranormal activities. So
Tell us about your first
I even
experience.
had. Oh, the first experience I had back in 1975. I was in Phoenix, Arizona. I was actually driving north of Phoenix on I-17 headed towards Flagstaff. It was night. It's about 9:30 at night, and this giant fireball appears about, I'd say, a third of a mile off to the right of my car, and it's going parallel to the ground. At first, I thought it was an aircraft on fire, and it was about to crash, but it just paralleled the pickup I was driving for over 2 miles, not changing in altitude at all. And it was probably about 50 feet above the ground, maybe 75. So it was
Mm.
very low. And then it just kind of fizzled out. And I watched the news, the next day and see if something had crashed. Nothing was reported. So that's the first one I saw as far as an unknown. And then the second one was the Phoenix Lights in 1997. And with the Phoenix Lights, I saw those in two separate locations, which disproves the government's uh, explanation that they were military flares dropped at a gunnery range.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was over, yeah, I was in Scottsdale at the time, and I was looking north. And the first time I saw the lights, there were five lights that I saw all lined up, and they were to the northeast of me. At first, when I was looking at them, and this was right after dark, I remember that. I was actually taking my chihuahua out to go to the bathroom, and I'd go out with her because we had hawks in the neighborhood. And at first, I thought, well, they looked to me like they were blimps that were lit up at night, kind of like one of the insurance company blimps. And I was thinking, that's odd. I wonder why there's five. And I watched them for well over a half hour. They didn't move at all. And then, yeah, I brought the dog back inside. And then about 10 o'clock at night again, I took the dog out again, but the lights had moved from the northeast of where I was to southwest, kind of over an area they call South Mountain in Phoenix. And that's when I go, well, it's not for any event, but I was concerned because that's in the flight path of Sky Harbor Airport, which is one of the busiest airports in the United States.
Hmm.
And actually, the actor Kurt Russell was coming in on a flight while they were there, and he saw them too. So they are very close to Sky Harbor.
How big were these
One of the
lights?
things that I
Go on. Well, how
how
big were
big
these
were
lights
they?
then?
They were in the distance. They were probably from where I was, probably a little bit smaller than your uh, small fingernail, but there were five of them just right in a row. They weren't moving. I obviously they'd moved between the around 7:30 or so over to when I got out around 10. But I didn't see a move. I would have liked to have seen that. I didn't realize at the time when I first saw them what a big deal they were. Uh, but I kind of wonder why I didn't see any aircraft responding to them. No military aircraft, and like I said, they were in the flight path of Sky Harbor Airport, and the Air National Guard is stationed in a section of Sky Harbor Airport, but
All
the
right.
military just seemed to ignore them. Phoenix has Luke Air Force Base just to the west of Phoenix, and you would have think that either the Air National Guard or uh, planes from Luke Air Force Base would have checked them out, but they absolutely ignored them.
They were trying to say they were flares, didn't they?
Yeah, they said that, but yeah, I've seen a lot of military flares, and they're easy to spot because one, they don't stay in the same place; they do drop, and you can see if you look at them with binoculars, you can see tails of smoke coming off of them.
Yeah.
And these were different. They didn't drop, and there were no, smoke tails from them. So they're very much different. I don't know why the government came up with that explanation. It's they may have well called them swamp gas. It's
Oh
about as
God.
ridiculous.
They always say something like that, don't they? Try to cover themselves up, but there were lots of people had seen these lights anyway.
Oh, it's fascinating. I've had uh, news crews come in from like the Netherlands. They interview me and others that saw them, and other countries, Canada, people in Europe seem to be very fascinated by them. BBC spoke to
All right.
them on that, and yeah, they're huge interest in Europe in particular. You
Well,
know,
it's quite a
here
big thing.
that they yeah.
Go on. It's quite a big
Oh
thing,
well,
Russell.
I was going to mention. Yeah.
Go on.
Well, in Phoenix every year they have a celebration where they show the documentary, the award-winning documentary, and bring in a panel to talk about them on the annual reserve by Dr. Lynn Katai that wrote the book and did the documentary. She always hosts that every year, so it's a big thing in Phoenix too.
Tell us about your first abduction.
Oh, my first abduction. It it was unexpected. I really didn't think anything would happen that night. It was May of 2019, and it was after a Phoenix MUFON meeting. And we had gone to Superstition Mountains. When the weather's nice there, the group goes there to have a sky watch. Now, and usually, we see satellites and skies are real clear there. It can be fascinating, but a lot of times it's real relaxing. People bring telescopes, so it's interesting. Now this night we were going to have a group meditation that was led by the guest speaker for that meeting, and we were with the intention of trying to get friendly alien contact. Kind of like, well, we won't hurt you, don't hurt us. And so I remember it was overcast that night. And quite honestly, I didn't think anything would happen. I was very wrong about that. But it was a weird night. We did, there was a woman that I always worked with. We'd bring scientific instruments with us, and we would set apart from the main group. Because with the main group, you'd have people that were real serious, and then you'd have other people that kind of considered it like a big party.
Mm.
But we were always serious, so we'd set up a table with all of our instruments, and we had radiation detectors, flare meters, EMF meters. We had quite a range, but we'd set out just to see if we could pick up anything. And we were probably about 20 yards away from the main group. Now, during the meditation, well, my friend that we worked with, her name was Diane, and her husband's name is Paul. Now, Paul was with the main group, and he's a real skeptic on things, even though they live in a haunted house.
Right.
But anyway, during the meditation, he had this vision that a stranger would walk in out of the desert and ask him a question. And at the end of the meditation, this stranger walks in out of the desert, kind of tall, thin, blonde hair,
Oh my
and
God.
walks up to him and asks, yeah, and asks, oh, what's going on here? Now, keep in mind, this place is in the middle of nowhere. I think the closest building is at least 5 miles away, maybe 10. This guy didn't have a vehicle. He didn't drive in. He just came walking in out of the desert. So that in itself was very strange. It kind
Oh,
of freaked Paul out a bit because he's not used to strange stuff happening. Now, Diane and I were unaware of this at the time because we were off at our table doing things. We did have a weird growl that came from behind us, and I went to check it out and didn't find anything, but it was strange. But we were in the desert, so it could have been a coyote or something, but it was odd. But we didn't think anything about it. After, maybe a half hour or so after the meditation, the group decides to walk down this, what I call the trail to nowhere. It's a concrete trail about twice the width of a sidewalk. It
right.
goes out about, well, I think it goes out into the desert by itself, and I think it was put in for a observation point for a place called Weaver's Needle, which photographers like to photograph at in the Superstition Mountains. The rest of the area is a picnic area with a great big parking lot, and I think it has 4 covered picnic tables there. So that was originally where they had the meditation, was in that area. And it between the parking lot and where the picnic tables are, there's a stone fence that's about 3.5 foot high, and all
Yeah.
this comes into play. So the whole group, now it's dark. They tell us, well, we're going down to the end of the trail here, and it just kind of goes down and stops. Now, one thing that's odd about it that I don't like is it has very high powered electric lines that go over it, the real big ones. And so once you start walking down that path, all the like EMF meters, they all peg. The instruments are useless. But Diane and I were going to stay at our table and keep monitoring things, but they went down there and they were down there for about 10, 15 minutes or so. And suddenly I start hearing flute music, which was very strange. And I comment to Diane, I go, do you hear that music? And now I'm hard of hearing, but she has excellent hearing. She couldn't hear it. With me, it was fairly loud. And I'm saying to her, you gotta be able to hear that. And she goes, no, not hearing anything. And so it's like, wow, what's happening? I know I'm not imagining it. So after a while, the group walks back up, and the same guy that had come in, that walked in out of the desert,
Yeah.
and asked Paul the question, he peels off from the group and walks over to our table. Now it's pitch black, but he's wearing this necklace that is so bright that it illuminates his face, and it's like the thing was radioactive. Uh, and he had this weird like aura about him. When he came up, it you had this feeling that he was like your long lost best friend forever. Everything was right in the world, just like a feeling of ecstasy.
Mm.
It was very strange. It was a pleasant feeling, but it was very weird. Diane felt it too. Um, I felt, his energy was right. He didn't seem human. He looked human, but didn't seem it. I was very curious about him. Diane couldn't even look at him because she was sure he was an alien too,
Right.
and felt that she might see him for how he really looked. And later she asked me, "How could you even look at him?" And I go, "Well, I was curious. I was concerned about how much that necklace glowed. I was worried I was getting a fatal dose of radiation.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, I'd never seen anything like it. But like I said, it illuminated his face. It was that bright, and it wasn't like it was, there were a light bulb in it or anything. It was just the stone was glowing naturally. He was very polite, very well mannered, and he asked what all the instruments were for and what we were doing, and I told him. And then he started asking me questions about psychics. Oh yeah, something else. He was carrying an antler that like off of a deer or an elk that he had made into a flute. And then he had been playing it down at the end there, and that's what I was hearing. But Diane couldn't hear it. But yeah, he was carrying that with him. And so he was asking me these questions about psychics. How does a psychic get their abilities? How do they get their messages? How do they know who to give them to? And stuff like that. How are the different ways psychics get their messages? So I answered his question. He is very polite and said, "Well, thank you," and walked back to join the rest of the group. And that's when Diane and I had the conversation. It's like, that guy's not human, because we both had that weird feeling of just,
Yeah.
euphoria. Uh, and that's not normal. So, uh, anyway, we talked about it. That's when she asked me, how could you even look at it? And I go, well, I was curious. And so, anyway, around 10 p.m. that night, the MUFON director, now back then she was the assistant director, comes over and tells us that, well, the group's going to, go home now. We're going to break up and go home. And we go, oh, okay. So Diane and I started breaking down the table, putting our instruments away. And by the time we had all that done, we were the only ones left in the parking lot. And so uh, we're both of our cars were side by side, and they load up their vehicle, and I load up mine, and then
Mhm.
we mentioned what a weird night it was, and they drive off. Now that just leaves me there by myself.
Oh
Now I
God.
got in my car and I went to start it, and I get this thought in my mind. This is going to sound weird. Uh, excuse me. But keep in mind, there's no facilities there, no water fountains, no restrooms, nothing. So I never eat uh, and try not to drink anything when I'm there. Well, I get this thought in my mind right as I'm reaching to start the car, and well, my house is over my hour's drive away. I really should go pee on a plant. Now, I didn't need to pee, but I got that thought and I got out of my car. Now, keep in mind, it's pitch black. There's bushes everywhere. I'm by myself. There's
Yeah.
plenty of bushes literally right in front of my car. No, I hacked back clear to where Diane and I had our table set up, which was probably 30 yards from where my car was, maybe even more than that. No, it's probably more like 40. And so anyway, didn't really need to go to the restroom, but I tried. And now I'm not noticing how weird my behavior is at all. It just, yeah, the thought came to me, and oh, okay. So on the way back, walking back to my car, this one stranger is standing there waiting for me right by that stone fence. And he was patiently waiting for me. And once again, I had this feeling of euphoria, of absolute peace, no danger. And he goes, "You mind if I ask you some more questions?" Like, "Oh, yeah, sure, no problem." I didn't feel threatened at all. And normally, when a stranger pops up out of nowhere like that,
Oh
I'd
God.
be real concerned. But not with this guy. It was like, yeah, no problem. So he asked me more questions, as I recall, about psychics again. And once we finished, I looked at him. I go, well, I guess I should go home. And I turned to walk to my car, and these two lights at the end of this big parking lot that holds probably 50, 60 cars light up at the end of the parking lot. And they were both white, one right over the other. I would guess they were probably about 8 inches in diameter. And I looked at him and I thought, wow, that's interesting. It's just like the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah.
And so I just sit there staring at him, and then they start moving toward me at maybe 5 miles an hour. And I'm just standing there. I don't even turn and say to the other guy, "Hey, look at that." No, I just stand and stare at the lights. And they keep moving closer to me and closer to me, and I don't even move. And then when it's about 10 feet away from me, this bicycle appears out of the darkness. Now, everything's silent. Now, we're in the desert, so there's a lot of gravel. It should be making noise.
Mm.
Uh, and it moves right by me, so close that if I'd taken a step to my left, it would have hit me. So I got a good look at it. It was all kind of uh, a matte black color or semi gloss. The bicycle, the rider's suit, the rider had this weird helmet that I'd never seen before. It was almost like a full face auto racing helmet, but with a section of the chin cut out. But it was the same color as everything. He had gloves on.
Right.
Um, no noise from the chain. I saw his feet moving, but absolute silence. Now, he got by me, but here's the part that's really weird. He didn't have a face. where his face should have been, it looked just like white silk. And I pivoted as he went by me, and I looked at him, and he disappeared down that trail to nowhere. Now, once again, I didn't even say anything to the guy that should have been standing right next to me. I don't know if he was there. I
Right.
just wished I just saw this bicyclist disappear. Then I turned, got in my car, drove home without saying a word.
Oh, God.
And 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 so over the next few days, I kept analyzing everything I saw. Oh, and yeah, and those two lights. One was on the kind of by the bicycle handlebars where you'd be expecting it to be. The other one
Yeah.
was just floating in the air. So it was very strange, the whole thing. And I kept analyzing. I talked to Diane, and I go, something's not right, because what I saw, it doesn't, there should have been a face there. The lights don't just, hover above, and something's not right. So ultimately, I had hypnosis done, and in it, uh, I found that I had been taken by a mantis who identified himself as a commander. Now, one thing that validates what I'm about to tell you is when I lived in Scottsdale, I didn't have any satellite TV or anything. So I'd seen none of the UFO shows. I mean, zero.
Right.
And my description of the mantis fit other people's descriptions perfectly that I'd never heard. And actually, at the time, I thought insectoid aliens were kind of a stretch, and I hadn't heard of mantis before either, but I'd heard about ant people, and I go, well, ants flying around spaceships, that's kind of a stretch.
Hmm.
I try to keep an open mind on things, but personally, at that point, I thought it was a stretch. Well, I was wrong. But anyway, what showed up there, yeah, I don't remember exactly how I got there off, but what came up in the hypnosis, uh, I was standing with my back to the wall. I was in a dome-shaped room. It had like six like buttresses going up over it. It had the infamous metal table in the middle of the room that people are normally strapped down on, and it was a kind of a everything in the room was a dark kind of stainless steel color, only like a shade darker. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
everything. And there were workstations uh, around it, and they didn't have any screens like TV screens or viewing screens. All they had on these workstations, I saw a chair, and they had these like half spheres, that they used for controls at these control panels. Now,
Right.
there was, I think it was a robot seated in one of them. I referred to him as a technician, and he was in a jumpsuit, uh, boots, mittens. Head was, it resembled an old, like 1960s, 70s open face helmet with those big bubble shields,
Oh, yeah.
only it was one piece, the same color as the room. Uh, the jumpsuit, mittens, everything was that. It didn't look like if there was anyone in it that they could see out. And I've had some more encounters with them, and I think they're robots. Uh, I can't say I'm 100% sure, but they kind of function like robots. But standing off to my right, now I'm standing up in with my back to the wall, and the technician is seated off to the left. And between me and the technician are those two white lights, and they're kind of flickering, change in intensity. Sometimes I look through them and it looks like a mirage. But off to my right side, about 8 feet away, stands a 7-foot mantis. And He's big. He is really big, 7 foot tall.
God,
Probably, yeah, probably 3.5, maybe, yeah, about 3.5 foot across his shoulders. Bipedal, 2 arms, 2 legs, very thin arms and legs. He's wearing a flat, matte black uh, jumpsuit, wearing gloves. He had this brown belt on that remind me of the old police belts, the Sam Brown belts, only this one was fabric. And it went around his waist and it came up over his left shoulder. Had a huge head. The top of his head was as wide as his shoulders.
oh
Uh,
God.
he was dark metallic brown, big eyes, mandible mouth, had 3 ridges on his forehead, no antenna, uh, and he was speaking to me telepathically. I could tell he was irritated because I could tell the lights were supposed to keep me calm and they were having no effect on me. And he
Right.
was speaking back and forth to the technician in clicking sound. And I remember thinking, oh, that must be his natural language. Now, when I first, you know, saw the commander and technician, I'm looking back and forth at him and I'm thinking, oh, this isn't good, you know, because I was obviously, no, I had no control of the situation. Here's this massive Mantis commander that I didn't even think existed up until then. But he was very businesslike. He kept saying to me, why are you agitated? I just want to ask you some questions. You're not going to be harmed. Now, at the time, I didn't know if that was true or not, so I was still staying agitated. I wasn't like screaming in fear or anything, but
Yeah.
I thought I was in a really bad situation. And so once again, he started asking me questions about psychics, kind of the same thing as the other guy did.
Same questions.
And, yeah, same thing. He was very interested in human psychics. And I had the feeling that they they knew they existed, but they weren't sure why. And so they wanted to study them to find out why. And fortunately, he didn't approach me because if he had, I probably would have been running around the room. But he asked me that, and he kept telling me to, you know, there's no reason to be agitated. You're not going to be harmed. And that's about all I remember from the first abduction. And so I immediately, and I do a picture of it. I drew a picture of the room I was in, and
Yeah.
Diane was there too. She recorded it, and so that was the first time. But after that, I'd still get like messages from it. It seemed like I was linked, and he didn't hurt me, you know. So, uh, then I became very interested. And then once I moved from Scottsdale over to here to New Mexico, I got satellite TV. And that's when I noticed that other people had had contact with him, and they described it pretty much the same way. Even the clicking sounds and everything, which I go, wow, that validates what they're saying and what I'd said. And so, but I'd be watching like a UFO show. And I remember one time I was watching, I think it was called Aliens in Alaska, and
Oh, yeah.
somebody had had an implant put in their leg. And he'd gone in, like 20 years later and have it removed by this doctor, and it was putting out radio frequency. And as I'm watching this, I hear telepathically from the command. Oh, the Mantis had identified himself as introduced himself as I'm the commander, and so that's why I always refer to him as the commander. But as I'm watching this show, about that, and I hear him tell me telepathically, that's old technology. That's not how we do it now. And I go, Oh, and then what he told me is the way they do it now, they don't put out any like radio waves or anything. What they do is they take elements or minerals that are not native to Earth, and they make the implant out of that, and it's made. Everyone's different, so that it's unique to the individual that they put it in. But they say their sensors are so strong now they can pick up the location of that person from orbit anywhere, wherever the person is. They can be on the other side of the planet and they'll still be able to tell where that person is.
Right.
So I found that fascinating. Uh, I do believe I've got an implant. From what I've learned, the mantis put their implants either in knees or right below them. I think I have one attached to my shin. I noticed that because when initially I didn't know what it was, but when I nailed down, it was very painful. But what it was this thing, which was about half-inch square,
Have you ever,
presses against my shin bone.
I'm going to say, Rose, have you ever had it x-rayed?
I've been trying to get my doctors to X-ray. I go, I have it. I didn't tell them it's an implant. I've
No.
been trying. I've got this growth on my shin bone that's very painful. Maybe we should X-ray it. And but I none of them have done it, and it's like, oh, come on, guys, I can't tell you what I think it is. So, well, maybe I just did, but I'm dying to have an X-ray because I'm curious what it is. Uh, from what I understand, that's where the mantis put their implants, and it didn't used to be there. I know that, but I didn't really notice its presence till maybe a couple of years after the first abduction. And so I think I may have been on that table getting my implant, and and the lights were supposed to keep me calm, and I woke up and jumped off of it. That's just a guess, but it happens sometime. But yeah, if I ever get an X-ray of it, I will get a picture of it and I'll send it to you.
Thank
Uh,
you. Yeah, thank
but
you for that.
I don't. Yeah,
I
yeah,
bet
I
you,
don't know why I can't get anyone to do it because it's there. You can feel it. I mean, it's not like embedded in my leg. You can feel it on the surface, right below the surface. So
yeah.
I'm going to keep trying.
Oh, I would.
So that was my first encounter.
Have you ever thought about putting a magnet over it?
Putting what?
A magnet.
I tried a magnet and didn't get anything. I did put a radiation meter over it.
Yeah,
I
right.
set it right on top of my leg, and then I actually took a picture of it, and it was about 4 times the amount of background radiation. So it does put out a slight amount of radiation,
Sounds
uh,
like it.
not enough to hurt me, but it's enough that it's detectable. So I did do that. I did try a magnet. It wasn't magnetic. So I don't know what it is, but it bears looking into. I did have a chance to talk to ufologists that specialize in removing them, but I don't know that I want it removed. So I didn't mention it to him when I was talking to him because the commanders actually helped me over the years. He didn't hurt me. He's actually helped heal parts of my body that
Really?
human doctors couldn't. Yeah, it's so I've actually benefited from the communication with him.
Yeah.
And I always told like Diane, I go, if they take me again, I'm going to ask him to heal my body. But the second time it was taken, never entered my mind. But one thing they can do is if they don't want you to ask something, you won't think of the question to ask it. They'll be aware of it because it seems like he monitors, and I have no idea how he does it. Uh, like every TV show I watch, if I'm like now, I'm sure he's aware of our conversation. Uh, and one time, well, before my second abduction, I was talking with Diane, and we are going to go back to the same area
Yeah.
of Superstition Mountain where I was taking. It's a really strange area. It looks pretty, looks nice, but they're like one individual about I think a year after I was abducted was there having a picnic with his family during the day, walked down that path and just disappeared, not without a trace.
Gone.
They brought in search and rescue, drones, dogs, no trace. Yeah, and he's still missing. So, but we were there. We were going to go back there. I was going to Phoenix to film that Black Files Declassified show, and while I was talking to her, I hear, well, we're concerned because both of you carry weapons when you're there. And and that's true. I do because I encountered a mountain lion, in the Superstition Mountains once, and there's uh, mountain lions, coyotes, all kinds of stuff that can kill
Yeah.
you. And then but I didn't know she did. So I go, well, they're concerned that we carry weapons. And she goes, and I go, do you carry a weapon? She goes, yeah, I do. I have it in my purse. And so, uh, and I go, well, I didn't know that. But she didn't know I did because, we both kept them concealed. We didn't want anyone to be bothered, but we didn't want to get attacked by a mountain lion or anything either. And so, we told them that, well, it's just for our own protection because there's dangerous animals there. And
Mm.
uh, they understood reluctantly, and so, uh, but yeah, that's what I mean. They monitors my conversations uh, if I'm watching TV show, but they've shown me incredible technology. Uh, but on the way back from doing that show, I did a lot of walking when I did that Black Files Declassified show, and at that time, my legs would swell up. I mean, very badly. And that was one of the things the doctor said nothing could be done for. And I'm old. I had neuropathy, arthritis, and ankle, feet, and
Yeah.
so I was in bad shape after doing that because of the walking. And I have a machine here to put it in to reduce the swelling. Uh, and so I had to cut my visit short in Phoenix. So I never got back to that area of superstitions. But on my way back I was taken a second time, and I know I was because I'd forgot Phoenix wasn't on uh, daylight savings time, and so I get back and I had my dog boarded. It was on a Friday, and I was cutting it short because of my legs, and I thought I was leaving at 10 in the morning. It's about at least a 6 hour drive, 5.5, 6 hour drive back
Yeah.
here.
It's a fair way then.
And yeah, it's quite a ways. And but anyway, when I got in my car, I thought, well, I got time. Yeah, but I was an hour off because New Mexico was an hour ahead. So it was actually 11 o'clock. And I
Uh,
had to pick up my dog by 5, or it'd be Monday before I could pick him up. And I'd be paying 3 more days of boarding. So it's like, oh no. So anyway, I'm heading down the highway, driving, as fast as I can without getting arrested. So I'm doing about, well, 75, 80 miles an hour. Uh, Speed limit was 75, and up around Fort McDowell, uh, 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 the Indian reservation there, I think is where this happened because later I remembered what happened. But between Scottsdale and Payson, Arizona, it's 67 miles. And when I, from the time I left, now keep in mind I'm watching the time very quite a bit because I'm trying to get my dog before they close at 5.
Yeah, of course you
And
are. Yeah.
so I left at 11. What's up?
Yeah, that's true. You
Yeah,
want to get it.
I was concerned. Yeah. And so anyway, should take about an hour or less at the speed I'm driving because it's 67 miles. But when I hit the Payson city limits, 3 hours had passed.
Oh my
So I
God.
had 2 hours of missing time.
Time.
And I knew what that meant instantly. I go, okay, you know, 2 hours of missing time. I know what that means. And so it's like, oh, okay, I've been taken. I didn't realize it because they put these false memories in. And so, and it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to get my dog now. So I'll just have to pick him up Monday. I kind of wonder what happened to me. Obviously, I'm okay. Here I am. And so, but I continued driving, at normal speeds. Now in Heber is where I usually fill up my car again, Heber, Arizona, and they have like a Dairy Queen there. But it's a like a restaurant. I usually use a restroom there.
Yeah.
But since there was no way I was going to get my dog, I ordered like a hamburger and fries and stuff. Now this place is always really slow, where you could be the only one there and it still takes you 20 minutes to get your order.
Oh
But
God.
this time, by the time I filled up my soda, my order was done. I go, that's weird. But hey, I'm grateful. And anyway, so anyway, I'm driving there, and but I noticed when I hit Gallup city limits, which is where my dog was boarded, it was only 3:30 in the afternoon, and it's like it should be after 5, way after 5. And but I picked up my dog plenty of time, and it's like I don't know, something happened, something, you know, and I figured out my average speed between uh, Scottsdale and Gallup. I averaged 137 miles an hour, which
Oh
is
God.
faster than my car will even
Oh
go.
God.
And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, you know, well, I'm glad I got my car, but something's not right here. And so, I got back and I was telling Diane about it the next day. I go, obviously I was taken. And she goes, well, and I should have thought of this myself. She goes, well, did you check your car to see if sometimes cars, when they're around UFOs, the plastic will become magnetic, which is odd. It shouldn't, but it does. Or you'll
Mm.
find radiation level. And I go, oh, I should have checked that already. But anyway, I go out with my radiation meter and a piece of steel. It wasn't magnetic, but right above uh, the driver's seat up on the roof, it was radioactive, had
Oh,
elevated radiation level. But that was the only place. And I go, well, okay, that verifies it. And for months, and the person that had done the hypnosis on me the first time had moved to uh, Virginia. So, and so I told Diane, obviously I was taken. She goes, well, you remember what happened? No, but I know I was. And so it was months before I started remembering. And uh, and what it And I remember I was talking with Diana again, and she goes, have you remembered anything yet? And I go, well, no, I haven't. But then it's like a book was opening, and it's like, well, hold on. And I started remembering it, kind of one little bit at a time. And
right.
what had happened was when I was over by Fort McDowell, I heard a noise that from my car that I thought was odd that I needed to check. Now they can implant visions in front of you where you see something that's not there. They can make you think you hear something. They can manipulate your mind, and they do it easily, and it's kind of scary. Well, it is scary. But what I did was I pulled off the highway just down this dirt road, just not very far, to check to see what was wrong with my car. And then as I reached for the the door latch, there's this bright flash of light, and then I found myself still sitting in my car, but I was in this big warehouse area. And it was that same kind of dark stainless steel color, and I knew immediately, oh, I recognize this, and
Hmm.
God, I must be on a mothership or something. And
Was
I
you
looked to
frightened?
the now I'm the only just yeah, it was just myself and my car in there. I looked to the left, and the wall dissolves, and in walks two of what I'd say were the technicians. Before I only saw one. This time there were two, and I remember thinking, oh, I know these guys. And they walk up to me and they, oh, we're here to escort you to the commander. And I go, okay. And I wasn't afraid. I didn't feel I was in any danger at all. I get out of my car, close it. I walk with both of them. We walk through the opening in the wall. After we walk through it, it, I don't know, remakes itself into a wall. It's just like when the first night looked like it dissolved, and so it just kind of like reappeared. I mean, it put itself
Hmm.
back together. And we were in a hallway, no markings, same color. They turned, they walked about, I don't know, I'd say 20 feet down the hallway. Then they stopped and they turned and faced the wall. And that wall dissolved and it was an opening. We walked through that and then it closed itself behind us. And it was a fair sized room, probably 30 feet by 30 foot, maybe a little bigger. Commander was standing over there and I recognized him. And there was a chair that reminded me of a fighter jet's ejection seat, only it was all smooth, kind of all molded.
Hmm.
And off to the left of it, there was these two metal panels, nothing marked on them. They're just like metal panels. There were two of them, no wires or anything. And the commander motioned to the chair and goes, I'd like to ask you, I'd like to run some tests on. And I was like, okay. So I sat in the chair. It wasn't padded at all, but it was comfortable. Both of the technicians went in front of the panel, and the commander started asking me questions. But what when he did, a holograph image of my brain appeared in the air, kind of up and to the left of me, kind of between myself and where those panels were. They're about probably 6 foot away. And what was happening is the technicians would put their hand, which were in mittens, in front of various parts of the metal and it would glow different colors, red or green, blue.
Yeah.
But every time he had asked me, I could see the neurons of in this hologram. I could see how my brain was working. And it was them studying, and I think it was them studying how my brain worked and stuff, but also I had the feeling it was like a lie detector test, make sure I was telling them the truth with the answers. So after we were, oh, and in the corner of the room, just kind of observing, there was a Nordic alien, one that looks human, the tall blonde haired ones
Oh yeah.
that are kind of thin, but yeah, looked very human. He was just standing in the corner. He was wearing a blue jumpsuit. Aliens like seem to like jumpsuits a lot. That and they like these like monk robes too. But Commander always, when I see him, is wearing a jumpsuit. This time he didn't have the belt with him, but it was the same kind of matte black jumpsuit. And so, I asked questions, and he said he would make sure I was able to pick up my pet on time. I remember he didn't call him a dog; he just referred to him as my pet.
Right.
And then I got up out of the chair. The two technicians escorted me back to my car. Same. Those doors are really amazing. They really are. Uh, I got in and they turned around, they walked back, and once they went through the opening in the wall, it became a wall again, and then there was a white flash again, and I was back where I was. Only the car was pointed towards the highway. They turned the car around for me. And so anyway, I was able to drive there and get my dog on time. So that was nice, but they had to have done something with the time. I don't know how they did it, but that that was it. But the commander's always very businesslike, and but he is considerate too. And so I was able to get my dog. I don't know how they managed that, but they did. Uh, but where I'm commenting, how they're always watching, monitoring what I'm saying. I was talking to Diane and I was telling them about their transporter. I go, God, it's better than Star Trek's.
Oh,
And I commented that, well, I hope they don't, break us down to atomic level and then put us back together like they do on Star Trek. And then the commander says, no, that's not how we do it. You remain intact. We put an energy field around you that protects you, but you stay in one piece. So
yeah.
that's what I mean. He tells me stuff. So,
But
but
it's
that was
strange.
my first and
It
second.
is, yeah, it's strange, but they keep asking you about psychics.
So, but what was that?
It's strange, but they're always asking
Okay.
you about a psychic.
Yeah, they're very fascinated with them. Now I know Diane's a psychic, so I always kind of wonder if she was taken too. I don't think she wants to know, but
No.
we were the ones, Paul, her, and I were the only ones there. We were the last ones to go, and I don't know why they wouldn't have taken her, but I don't know. I didn't see her there with me, so uh, could have been in a different room. I don't know,
Yeah, exactly.
but it's interesting.
But you
But
wanted to
they
know.
are interested in psychic.
But you wanted to know.
What was that?
If, you wanted to know if you'd been taken, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I want to know all about it. I'm fascinated by it. They don't hurt me, which is a real concern. Uh, but I know they don't hurt me now, so I'm more interested in learning about their technology, learning about the experience, learning as much about them as they learn about me.
Oh God, yeah.
So I'm not afraid. I think one of the reasons they stay in communication with me is I'm not afraid of it. A lot of people, when they see the mantis, they just scream in fear. But now that I'm used to seeing what he looks like, it doesn't bother me at all. So,
Good.
and I'd like to know if the robots are really robots. I know they're not a mantis because the mantis head would not fit inside, their little helmet things. Um, but I think they're AI driven robots, but they work well. It's fascinating, absolutely
Oh,
fascinating.
it is a fascinating subject when things like that happen to you, and you want to know why. Why did they pick on you? Or do you think some of us are chosen to be taken?
Yeah, I'm not sure why they picked me. I was the last one to leave. So since then, we've come up with these protocols where no one's alone. No one's the last one to leave. Everyone leaves together. But I don't know if that would matter. Because quite honestly, if they want you, they're going to take you. There's no way to stop it. Um,
Oh, no,
but
there's not. If they're
I don't
gonna
know.
if they're
Yeah,
gonna
I
take if they're gonna take it, they will do.
yeah, it's fascinating. Um, yeah, it doesn't scare me anymore. It's I like it when he shares information on how they do things, like with the implants and stuff like that, and seeing the walls and the doors and the fact that they transport people and everything. It's absolutely fascinating. Their technology is incredible. And when I see these UFO shows where they're worried about an alien invasion, I laugh because you know uh, they are so far advanced to us. If they wanted to invade us, we'd either be slaves or extinct. Uh, there's no way we could stop it. So I know they're not interested in like taking over the planet,
Oh no,
because they could if they wanted, but they don't. You know,
no.
so I'm never worried about that. But
Very fast.
fascinating journey.
Oh my God, it is a
You know,
fascinating journey. It may happen again.
well, and that's just it. They plant false memories. So unless you catch one of the little glitches like the missing time, or gee, I got from Scottsdale to Gallup and I averaged 137 miles an hour. If you catch little things that are impossible, then something's happened. And if you work at it long enough, sometimes it'll come back to you.
Of course it will.
But
Yeah,
I may have been taking more times than that. I just don't know it. But
time will
and I don't
tell.
know why at this point. I don't know why. Yeah, you know.
I
Yeah,
know.
time will tell. It's an
Yeah, time
interesting
will tell.
journey, a
Yeah, of course it
fascinating
is.
journey.
We're about just come to the end of the show. If anybody wants to find you, where can they get in touch with you?
Well, they can send me an email and just put something in it, like the name of this show or something. So, I know to look at it. Yeah, I get tons of email every day. But just they're welcome to contact me. My email is race.russ@yahoo.com. And if you have any questions about anything, feel free to send me an email. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me. But, just put alien question in the subject line or reference this show. I'd be glad to answer your questions best I can.
I'm sure that I'm sure people will do get in touch with you because it's so fascinating hearing about what's happened to you.
Well, it's quite a ride. I mean, I never in my life imagined I'd be experiencing this stuff. And like I said, the night of the first time, I honestly didn't think anything would happen. But yeah, it forever changes your life once you experience it, because it's real and the stuff you see is just amazing. And like I said, they've healed parts of my body that human
Brilliant.
doctors couldn't. And for that, I'm absolutely grateful.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
So
I've heard of
that's
that
that's a
before. Yeah, it's happened to a few
yeah,
people that.
and and they do it occasionally. I know of one woman that a different alien species healed her stage 4 breast cancer, 100%. And they're medical technology is incredible. I wish they'd share it with us.
Oh
I've
gosh,
seen a little bit of it in action, but what what we have compared to what they have is ours is just so primitive.
oh, there it is.
They can heal all kinds of stuff with no cutting, yeah, no drugs. Uh, they use frequencies. They've told me that the entire universe functions on frequencies. So with
Right.
me, they had these light rods. They glowed white, and they put them over my legs. There were two of them working on me. Then they healed everything in less than 2 hours. It was incredible.
Amazing.
So absolutely.
It makes you feel
So
better as well.
well, yeah, I feel better. I can move around better. I've had some other health issues since then, which I think they help me get through. A lot of times they will like help me heal quickly. They don't want to make it as a rule too blatant. Uh, but I've had stuff that could have been life threatening that I got through very quickly. And I believe they help with healing energy too,
Oh,
even
brilliant.
for other stuff. But so I think them healing my legs was kind of a thank you for you know being part of their experiment or whatever they were doing, uh, with the chair and stuff. And I never asked him directly if they'd heal me, but I know he knew about it because, like I said, they monitor everything I say, or it appears that they do. Uh, thoughts, what I watch on
Yeah,
TV, communications. So I knew they knew that I wanted my legs healed, and they delivered, and
brilliant.
that was very kind of them. Yeah, the Mantis didn't do it; it was a different group, but yeah, they're incredible. They really are. So I benefited from it, and that's one of the reasons I don't. If that is an implant, I don't want it removed
No.
because my experience has actually benefited me, and uh, and I like learning about things. I like seeing some of the stuff they've shown me.
Yeah, I bet you do as
It's a
well.
wild ride. It really is.
I would as well if it happened to me
So
as well. I'd want to keep the implant in as well. But thank you, Russell, for
so
coming on the show. It's been absolutely wonderful talking with you again. Hopefully, you'll get your book out this
well,
year.
it's my pleasure. Yeah, thank you for having me back on your show. I always enjoy it, and I
Thank
hope
you.
I was able to impart some knowledge to others. And if they encounter a mantis, they look really scary. I'll be honest, but I've had good experiences with them. Again, never harmed, but you got
No.
to get past the looks. For humans, they look very scary.
Yeah, I can
So,
imagine so as
but
well.
it's interesting.
It is, yeah.
So,
Well, thank
but
you again. And have a lovely weekend. And
so
take care.